Welcome to the pregame show for Game 3 before floor here on the Five Reasons Sports Network. I'm Jonathan Ramakane, aka 3-Piece Combo. We got Mateo Mayorga. We got Mr. Gad Cartagena, as always, joining us. Appreciate you guys. And as always, guys, if you're new here to the pregame show, make sure you guys follow us on everything. Subscribe here. Make sure you guys like the video. Make sure you guys follow us on Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff, as we'll break down everything pregame, postgame. We'll have everything for you here on Five Reasons Sports Network. Now, guys, before we get into anything else, we're here for Game 3 of the pregame show. This is Game 3, and we want to thank all of our sponsors here at the pregame show. The first one being allproconstructionbuilders.com. So make sure you guys, it's hurricane season coming up, so you want to make sure that all your windows and everything is taken care of. So go to allproconstructionbuilders.com and make sure you guys hit them up about their impact windows. Make sure you guys hit them up about everything as far as making sure everything is taken care of there. So go to allproconstructionbuilders.com. And then as well, we'll get you the number a little more down the line. And also Prize Picks as well. So go to prizepicks.com, use that promo code 5, spell it out FIVE, and we'll go ahead and give you a free $100 when you match it up to your $100 for Prize Picks. But guys, let's get into the pregame show right away. We're here for Game 3. I don't even believe that we're still here. We stole one in Denver. We were able to take one out there. Gad, let's break down the adjustments that you saw, because one of the big things that I saw that I didn't think wasn't really going to work was how Miami effectively implemented the zone against Jokic. And I feel like the way that they were able to make it work was by throwing different bodies on him and throwing him out of his spot regardless of who was on him. I mean, you saw guys like Gabe Vincent fronting the hell out of him, knowing that there was going to be help behind him too if they tried to throw it over the top. So they had, like I said, some really good adjustments. We knew that the shots that they were creating in the first game that they didn't fall would start to fall. We got great games from Max Strus starting off the game, Duncan Robinson closing out the game. What adjustments did you see in Game 2 that you liked differently from Game 1?
Yeah, I mean, you can give credit to a bunch of different things, right? I think the Heat did a really good job of responding. Number one adjustment to me was energy early on. Like, they did not look like they had short legs. They were ready to go. They were mentally locked in. To your point on the zone, I think everyone kind of talks about this adjustment of, trying to make Jokic a score. And there's definitely some validity to that, because I think the Heat did kind of make an emphasis of like, okay, you know what? If Jokic gives us 40, it is what it is. But it's not like they completely took him away as a passer. Denver kind of just missed shots. Like, you can't take away Nikola Jokic's passing. You can force him to make some ill-advised passes, though, and I think they did a good job of that. He had 4 or 5 turnovers last game, which was really, really big. Because if you get him thinking even just a little bit and not processing like a supercomputer, then things become more doable. But I think the number one thing for me was really physicality. You saw it with the fronts on Jokic, whether it was Gabe, Caleb, Strus, whoever it may be, being really physical with him. But not only with him, Jimmy getting physical with Jamal, Bam being physical with literally everybody on the boards, Kevin Love adding a certain level of physicality that we previously couldn't achieve because he's kind of just a bigger human being in nature. So I think just being more physical, trying to muck up the Denver offense a little bit, I thought that really, really helped out a lot. And obviously Denver still had these stretches where they were going scorched earth, whatever, but a lot of that was in transition. I think the Heat did a really good job of slowing down Denver's half-court offense, which is something that I believe to be a lot more sustainable, because they're not going to give up like a 27-6 run every single game. Knock on wood, because you never know what's going to happen with this Heat team. But I really liked that they kind of brought the game to Denver. They said, okay, you know what? You're still going to try to play your game your way, but it's going to be on our terms. And we're going to make you fight and work for 48 minutes. And I think that wear down on Denver at a certain point. I mean, they got to that fourth quarter. They were up, and they let go of the rope. They let go of the rope to the point where this really should have been a double-digit lead going into the final minutes of the game. And then Jamal Murray kind of hit, 3 threes or something like that. So I think Miami, I just love their physicality, man. Like, if they can get that same level of physicality with the energy that they should have from the home crowd tonight, I think that really, really bodes in their favor.
So another adjustment that Gad actually mentioned that I think was super effective was, like you said, Gad, implementing the size of Kevin Love. Kevin Love, like you said, maybe not as fleet on foot as Caleb Martin, but we saw in game one how they were able early in the game to take advantage of the mismatches, especially with Aaron Gordon getting all those easy shots, implementing Kevin Love with the 10 rebounds that he was able to get, as well as just being a good playmaker from the offensive side, being a good team defender, and also just making good screens as well, giving the size. Mateo, what did you see from Kevin Love that you liked that maybe switched some things up from the first game?
Well, it's interesting because what we saw all year is the Heat be one of the slowest teams in the league, and Denver, one of the faster paced teams. And what Kevin Love brings to the table is after a defensive rebound, he can help push the pace by utilizing the outlet pass to someone in the half court, or excuse me, at the half court, or a little bit farther than that. But he's someone who just keeps the ball moving. He also, he didn't hit his jump shots late in this game at all. I think he shot like 2 of 9, but I made the joke to some of my Cleveland friends. He had like the best 6-point, 22% shooting game of modern times. He's someone that, gels well with the players, just with him on the floor, just things happen right for the team. But, I just like how things flow with him, especially how he unlocks Bam Adebayo. It gives him space. He may not have hit his shots, but the opposing defense still has to honor him and, close out a little harder on him, which gives Bam Adebayo avenues to, get to the rim or to get to the nail on pick and pop shots.
So you perfect transition as Matthew Steele. Yep, we do know that Suns waived Chris Paul per ESPN, so that's a fun little side note if you guys didn't catch that already. But Gad, let's talk about Bam Adebayo, right? And I want to talk about the big minutes as a whole because something that I'm hoping to adjust from game 2 to game 3 is I don't want to see any Cody Zeller, any Zeller at all. Like I think that when Jokic goes to the bench, you can mirror those minutes with Bam. You can implement Kevin Love and a Highsmith or a Kevin Love and a Caleb Martin. And then that way you can still get yourself enough size. You have enough guys that can still switch up to match up with a little bit of size that Denver will have without Jokic, and it'll be a little bit easier. So two-part question here. Bam, like I said, everybody, as far as the teammates of his, has been just talking about how important this man is offensively and defensively. What do you expect Bam to bring tonight in the first Heat home game in an NBA Finals in 9 years? And do you expect to see less of Zeller as well?
So I'll start with Bam. I'm just excited to see what it's going to look like as a whole for the Heat, but Bam in specific because, as Jimmy's kind of said, this is Jimmy and Bam's first home Finals game. Like they haven't had this experience. They haven't had this the joy of having this game. So this is obviously going to be a big moment for them. But I think Bam just showing you the level of confidence that he's had in Denver, doing that on the road against the best player in the world. That's really hard to do. And he did it 2 games in a row, making an impact on both ends. So I think him coming home to the energy of playing at home is going to be huge. And one thing that I love about Bam is the fact that when he gets going, he gets in these grooves at home, he tends to always put like a little exclamation point on it, like an and one dunk, or maybe like he had that spinning dunk on Jaylen Brown in game 3 of the last series. Always kind of these highlight memory moments that we get from Bam. So I'm just excited to see if he's able to bring some of that tonight as well. Like you look back and say, okay, like when did this series change? Maybe we'll end up looking back on Duncan Robinson's run in Denver as when the series changed. But it also could be, let's say things aren't going the way they want it tonight. They're in that early fourth quarter. They're down by 6 or whatever it may be. And then Bam says, I got this. Goes on a little 8-0 run of his own, makes 2 stops on Jokic. And then you're talking about like, okay, Bam kind of just had a little finals MVP moment tonight. Let's see if he can keep this going. So he's been our MVP thus far. I don't know if him being the MVP for the next 5 games of the series, if they play that many, is the winning formula. But if you can get 2 or 3 more really, really good games from Bam, that might be enough to win the whole title, and that might be enough to win finals MVP. So I'm excited for Bam tonight. This is a huge, huge opportunity to really, really give the Heat momentum at home going into game 4.
So like you said, the winning formula, if it's not Bam, it's going to be Jimmy Butler. I'm going to get to you on that point, Mateo. But Anthony's saying, honestly, want to start looking at trading a sense for Karl Anthony Towns. I don't think Bam is big enough to be dealing with a guy like Joker. I just want to bring this up. Bam's defense versus Jokic last time, 7 for 15, made him shoot 46%, 2 turnovers, 1 assist, and he also got a block on him, right? Joker is a 2 times MVP, and obviously he's going to get his regardless. We saw what he did to Anthony Davis last round, who's one of the best defensive centers around. Anybody is going to get theirs or versus Jokic, right? Jokic is going to get theirs versus anyone regardless. You have to make him work. Bam, being who he is making him work and also doing a lot of other things. Gad.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. And I want to kind of just emphasize that point where, like, you can see Jokic match up against any one player on the planet. Doesn't even need to be in the NBA. It could just be a random human being. He is going to give every single person that work. Like, he's that skilled. He's that good. He's that fun to watch. He's that smart. There really is no flaws to his game offensively. Like, what are you supposed to do? I think what the Heat are showing you is that, yes, Bam is a great individual defender. No, Bam cannot stop Jokic. So how do you remedy that as a team? You have the other four guys want to buy in and play defense as well. That is the game plan too. You can't stop Jokic. You really can't contain Jokic. But maybe just limit him from having like a 50, 20, and 20 night, which if you let him, he would have that. So I just want to emphasize that point. Like, it's a team effort against Jokic. So independent of personnel, you also are just going to need mentality and effort and physicality. And the Heat, for whatever lack of personnel they might have, are bringing the rest of it. And that's why the series is 1-1 right now.
Yeah, and just to continue that point, everybody talks about just make him a scorer. The way you have to make him a scorer is literally lock down the four other guys that are around him to a T. Make sure they're not getting easy back cuts. Make sure that when they're screening for each other, that you're either switching or you're going around the screen the right way. All these little things are just points that Bam helps do, because if you have him and Jimmy switching it, you allow them to focus as kind of like a safety on the other end. So Miami's other four guys is really helping out as well. And this is a team defense that really is spearheaded by Jimmy and Bam. So let's get to Jimmy Mateo, because we haven't really seen the signature Jimmy game just yet in these finals. And he doesn't really talk about needing to score when we talk about his media day yesterday, which you were there for. So make sure you guys follow him, Mateo, on Twitter, guys, because he's asking questions on these media days. So before, Jimmy said he doesn't need to be a scorer, right? Or he isn't a scorer, a volume scorer. But do you think we're going to see in one of these two home games a Jimmy scoring outburst?
Just quick correction. I'm covering the games out in Denver. I didn't make the trip to Miami. Our guys, Ethan, Brady, and our Alex are the ones there. But real thing about Jimmy being the scorer. Last game he got 21 points, and you really didn't notice it because it was virtually super inefficient for Jimmy. Like, he shot in the mid 30s, but around 7 or 8 of his points were in a flurry in the fourth quarter. He's such a smart player. He still finds a way to get in where he fits in. Like, there was one possession where the ball came to him quickly in the corner, and he just raised immediately for a banger, just because the ball was in rhythm. He's someone who I think understands like what's happening in the play. And, he may not be shooting well, but he just goes for it in the situation. And I think that's why he scored. But, he didn't have very good shooting games in Denver, but, people could say it's the altitude. I'm starting to think more that there may be a physical ailment on Jimmy, and he's, underselling it, because from where I was sitting, like, the catbird seat way up high, there was one moment, like when he checked in the game, where he was running up the court and he was limp. I think he finished the game limping the rest of the way. And when he defended Jamal Murray's final possession, he didn't get so much lift off the ground. So, there might be something to him there, but Jimmy is a remarkably smart player. You can't slow him down forever. Even at like 75%, he will still, get his opportunities. I think, especially being at home, where you have like the visual cues, I think he'll have more success attacking the drop and getting to the line. Virtually, he really didn't get there at all in game one. He had more attempts there in game two. I think it was 5, but being in his building, I think it's going to add extra juice, because like Gad mentioned a moment ago, this is their first Heat game, for the fans, in front of everybody. Oh, excuse me, in the finals, I would say. So I think, that's going to really fuel a lot of the team tonight. And also, I think a part of him just wants to get Bam involved, because Jonathan, he's a really smart player. I think, like, it's not a joke when he says he's more than a scorer. Bam really is the key to this series, because the Joker cannot stay in front of him, especially like when they when Bam faces up, or when he goes directly to the drop. When Bam has the quick ability to pull up at the nail or go directly to the rim, I think most of his misses are really because really Bam's fault, not really the Joker. I think the key to this series is really feeding Bam and, Jimmy being the secondary scorer. So eventually he will, have a big game, but I don't think he's too worried about it.
Yeah, I can exactly understand that. He's going to make everything else work regardless, because we know the way Denver's been playing him so far, they feel he's the number one option, even though he hasn't been threatening to shoot like the number one option normally would. He's still focusing on drawing the defense and creating for others. But guys, we're going to get to our Prize Picks predictions. So make sure if you're going to go to Prize Picks, use that promo code 5, spell it out FIVE. We'll match your initial deposit up to $100. Gad, I'll let you get it started. Who do you want to take a look at?
This one might be controversial. Give me Caleb Martin. Go to his points, take the over. I don't care what the line is at. I'm taking the over on Caleb tonight. Listen, Mateo, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I've heard of all media availability, Caleb was really, really not feeling well for the last 2 days or last two games. It might have been altitude sickness. It might have been something else. But from what I've heard the last couple of days, he is feeling a lot better. And Caleb Martin, for one, does not lack confidence. I know that was a topic on the low post that was discussed with Tim Legler. He does not lack confidence. I think this is a matchup that he can still get his game off at all three levels of the floor. So I will be going the over on 8.5 points. I wouldn't be shocked if he went over 15 points. I would probably still take that line then. I'm very confident in a good Caleb Martin game tonight.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jonathan. That's a great point, about Caleb feeling better, because, when I first moved out here last summer, I had, pretty frequent headaches my first couple of weeks. And apart from that, my nose was very stuffy, and sometimes it would bleed a bit, I think, because of, the altitude. But great point. Now they're back at, back at home. Go on, Jonathan.
Yeah, so exactly. That should help a little bit. Another adjustment they made, we had Kevin Love, I think, get 10 rebounds last game. I'm going to take the over on him on the rebounding. I think he's still going to have an impactful part tonight. And to go on about the point about Caleb Martin, I feel like Denver is really going to try to close out on shooters tonight. So I feel like a key to tonight's game is going to be attacking the rim, because they're going to be overemphasizing the shooters. So drawing those pump fakes, attacking those closeouts, getting to the rim and putting them in compromising positions to drawing some fouls. I think that'll be one of the keys to tonight's game as we get to predictions later. Mateo, who you want to take a look at?
Is there Haywood Highsmith up there?
He is not.
Oh my gosh. All right, give me Gabe Vincent. My other favorite, Namdi. I want to go with the points for Gabe Vincent. He's been.
They have 14 points.
He's at 14 points. I would definitely take the over. I think he scored 18 and 23 for this series, and I think he's averaging in the 60s. He's been tremendous, and what's been so great about him is he's also playing, remarkably on the defensive end. In the first half of the last game, he was playing pretty well on Jamal after the switch, because Jimmy was getting time on him. But Gabe Vincent was also hitting some very big shots in the game, some timely shots that kept the Heat in the game before Duncan Robinson went on his flurry to give the Heat control in the fourth quarter. So give me the over on Gabe Vincent.
Yeah, I like the over on Gabe Vincent. Also, another one that potentially is the over on his shot attempts. 12.5 field goals attempted. I do think even if he doesn't get the scoring, he's going to get the field goals up regardless for tonight. So let's take a look at Jimmy Butler. Any of you guys have any other picks or any other thoughts you'd want to look at? Actually, I was looking at Max Strus. They have him at 10 points. That's not too bad. I want to see what his 3-point shots made are, though.
Well, he was 4 of 10 the last game. He had the donut, of course, game one. So he's averaging 7 for the series. I think at home this would probably be a good game to take Max Strus. Confidence is, I think, riding high with the Heat right now, because I think it was the day after game one, Jonathan Gad, somebody asked Bam Adebayo about the mental difference about going back to Miami 1-1 as opposed to 0-2. He pretty much said they were going to go back home 1-1, and they had a good opportunity to win 2 there and take it from there. So you had guys like Jimmy who just inspire confidence in the role players, and I think Bam is someone who does too. Not just with his comments but with his play. So I would take Max on this one over.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I do think he'll get his shot ups and go over, guys. So, like I said, make sure you use that promo code 5 and double your initial deposit to get that extra $100, guys. It's literally, and then also, like I said, go to allproconstructionbuilder.com. The number for them is 305-484-4429. And like I said, they're a certified insured general contractor. They insured service for Miami-Dade and Monroe counties. They only use American products, and they're family owned. So make sure you guys hit them up. They're a 305-484-4429, or the website's allproconstructionsbuilder.com. If you mention 5 Reasons Sports, you'll get a 10% discount, and they'll give you a free estimate as well. So go to allproconstructionbuilders.com and make sure you guys hit up our guy, Danny, a Heat fan, as well. So, guys, let's get into predictions for tonight's game. Mateo, I'll let you start it off. Dad, I'll let you close it out. Mateo, key to tonight's game, give us a prediction.
Well, after the last game, Malone said to me that they got to defend guys like Vincent Strus and Duncan Robinson at the 4-point line when, setting higher pickup points against the Heat shooters. I think because the Nuggets are going to have such a concerted effort to guard the 3-point line, it's going to open up the inside game for the Heat. And I think they're going to have a night where they have the most free throw attempts they've taken tonight, probably the most efficient production inside of the paint. But I think guys like Jimmy and Bam are going to feast inside tonight. So give me a Heat W.
Yeah. Before you get to you, Gad, I agree with you. I think tonight is a Jimmy night. Obviously, his boy, I think Neymar is in town. So, typically you get a little more of a Jimmy game. Closing out last game, like you said, you didn't really see him use his legs too much. He had that corner 3, was able to get a couple of and-one opportunities down late. But Jimmy wasn't really too springy. So I expect him off of 3 days rest to at least have a little bit more legs under him. Hopefully that ankle is able to reduce swelling. Hopefully getting off that altitude will help his body heal up a little bit more. But I do expect this to be more of a Bam Jimmy spearheaded game. I do expect Miami to get inside. Like you said, they're going to try to guard Miami shooters. What do you do against that? You attack inside. You force them to rotate, force them to help make the right passes from there. So I think Miami gets done as well. I think Denver's going to come out and try to take a really big punch at Miami. We know they're able to score in bunches, so we're going to have to withstand those those little those spurts of scoring for Denver. But I do think in front of a Miami crowd that at home we should be able to take care of it. Gad, how you feeling about this one?
I'm feeling good about the game. I'm rolling with Heat W. I think one of the X factors for this game as a whole, I'll just say cutting. I think, like Mateo brought up, they're really, I think, going to overemphasize, like, hey, we can't give up this many open threes tonight. And the Heat, yes, I want to see them like attack sloppy closeouts and whatnot, but more so than anything, I want them to, when you're working on those off-ball actions, Denver is going to sell out to try to keep you from getting an open 3. So that means if someone slips the off-ball action, there's going to be lanes to get to the basket, and that's going to be with no help, no nothing. So I wouldn't be shocked if there's a really big Bam playmaking game because we've seen them overreact to Jimmy already. So Jimmy, I wouldn't be surprised if there's possessions. We park him in the corner, get some actions going on top, and get some actions going on in the corner, have Bam just dice them up as a passer. So that's one thing that I'm looking out for tonight. I'm rolling with the Heat W, though. I think the Heat mentally also might have an edge at this point. Denver isn't at a breaking point. Obviously, the series is 1-1. They would get a lot of confidence back if they win this game. But I do think in terms of the way that everything, the body language, whatever, they kind of they let it go a little bit in that fourth quarter. And I was like, you know what? Maybe this is kind of like the chink in the armor for Denver because it's not easy to get them down. Like they have been a great team the entire year. And the Heat just kept that run going and going and going to the point where they ballooned it up to an 11-point lead or whatever it may be. So I think Miami, they really have a chance to make a statement tonight. And I think they understand that. They all know what's at stake. Going up 2-1 with that third game at home, Denver's only lost two games in a row once in these playoffs, and that was to 2 supernova performances from Devin Booker and Kevin Durant at the same time. If they lose to another team effort tonight, I think they're really going to start asking questions and losing some confidence. So I'm rolling with the Heat. I think they get the job done. I agree with all the points you guys made. I hope it's a Jimmy and Bam game. I hope we get good Jimmy. But I think the Heat are just playing fantastic basketball right now. So I'll be rocking with them until further notice.
Absolutely, guys. So make sure if you're checking us out, we got also 100 of you guys here checking us out live. Make sure you guys leave your predictions in the comments as well. We want to know what you think. We want to know, maybe some keys to victory that you guys have. Make sure if you're checking us live, like the video. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. Obviously, we're here for the NBA Finals, but if you want to make sure you check out our pregame coverage, our postgame coverage, we have live interviews. Like Mateo said, we got Mateo in Game 1, Game 2. We got Brady Hawk covering. Happy birthday, Brady, by the way. He's 20 years old today, so shout out to the boy. So he's there covering the game as well. So, make sure you guys check it out. And we got post-game coverage. So thank you guys, as always, for joining us here on the pregame show. We'll check you guys out after the game. Let's go Heat.